We continue with part 2 of our series of stories gathered from an international election observation mission I joined recently in Papua New Guinea. Tonight, a look at some of the trials and tribulations seen along the way. Conducting a free and fair election is a pretty formidable challenge anywhere in the world, and no less so in Papua New Guinea. Election officials there confronted all sorts of challenges this year, from a voter list fraught with numerous missing names, to delays in allowances for election workers, to considerable logistical difficulties encountered in sending out dozens of electoral teams all over the country, across seas to reach far-flung islands, and over rugged terrain through near impassable roads to get to remote villages. There were also apprehensions about election violence and irregularities to contend with. Police Commander Owena Afeke oversaw security operations for New Ireland Province's elections. Though he says the polling proceeded peacefully overall in that province, there were a few incidents of concern, including the arrest of one man who allegedly tried to impersonate another voter, and the breaking up of a village gathering held for the sitting governor of the province, Julius Chan, who was up for re-election. Under PNG law, campaign activities are prohibited once polling begins. Asked if it was difficult for him to crack down on campaign events associated with his boss, Afeke says this.
That's part of our constitutional duty, where we are trying to discharge our duty impartially, as in our capacity as police officers. So, well, that's my job, to make sure that any of that sort happens. We just have to deal with for the interest of the community at large.
In Morobe Province, election-related tensions seem to run a bit higher than in New Ireland. In Lae, PNG's second-largest city, some candidates and their supporters expressed fears of biased election workers and police officers, and anxieties that ballot boxes were not properly secured. Before the counting began, at least one election official was hospitalized after he was attacked, apparently by disgruntled candidate supporters. And nearly half of Lae's 31 candidates filed a petition with the Electoral Commission demanding, among other things, the replacement of all of Lae's counting officials. One of those candidates, Micah Paramani, explains why.
The people who are hand-picked or selected to be the officials here are employees under the old regime. They work for the district office, district services, they work for the provincial government, and many of the jobs are given, appointed by politicians of the former regime. And so for them to continue to secure their contract, they will have to engineer the wind that is in their favor.
Outside of Lae, counting in Morobe was off to a relatively peaceful start in Nawai district, and there seemed to be a concerted effort to make the process as transparent as possible. In some ways, this meant sacrificing efficiency. But transparency isn't the only reason why counting takes so long in PNG. Another is the election system used in the country, known as limited preferential voting. LPV requires voters to identify their top 3 candidates in order for their ballots to be counted. If a voter's first choice is eliminated in the first round of counting, then that vote is distributed to the second choice candidate during the next round of counting, and so on until the ballot is exhausted or until the winner of more than 50% of the counted votes is declared. If a particular race features dozens of candidates, there could be dozens of counting rounds, which translates to a really long time. Counting continues throughout much of PNG today and is expected to wrap up sometime next week.